Everyone called her broken, too fragile to work, too sick to matter, too tired to try again. But from her bed, surrounded by heating pads, pill bottles, and silence, she built something no one saw coming: a business, a team, a movement. Her name is Lila James. She lives with a chronic illness that makes even standing a struggle. She hasn't walked unaided in years. She hasn't seen sunrise from outside in months. But she didn't wait to get better. She got to work, with a stylus gripped in fingers that trembled, with her voice breaking mid-sentence, with the world telling her, "Rest, wait, maybe later." She whispered back, "Now." She designed logos that went global without leaving her room, led meetings from a whisper, launched digital tools used by thousands, redefined productivity on her own terms, and just when the world expected her to fade quietly into the background, she built a future that echoed far beyond her bedroom walls. But what she built from that silence might just shift how you see success. And yet, what came next wasn't just about design or income. It would challenge the very meaning of productivity itself. This is the story of a woman who challenged hustle culture from under a blanket, who led without standing, who showed the world something radical. Still is not surrender, and slow is not broken. Stay with us, because what Lila built didn't just change her life, it's changing the world. And by the end of her story, you might question the way you measure worth, work, and wellness. Before the world knew Lila James, she was just another college sophomore with a color-coded planner, big dreams, and too many coffee loyalty cards. She lived on deadlines and ambition, a rising star in her marketing program, with internships, awards, and job offers already circling. Every hallway felt like a runway toward something bigger. Then came the diagnosis, a name with too many syllables and not enough certainty. An autoimmune condition that unraveled her body, slowly at first, then all at once. It began with fatigue, the kind no nap could fix. Then came the flares, fevers, dizziness, pain that made even blinking feel loud. One week she was given a class presentation. The next, she was crawling to the bathroom. Doctors ran tests. Specialists nodded thoughtfully. But no one could promise her a map out. She applied for disability. Twice. Denied. Not disabled enough, they said. As if suffering needs to be visible to be valid. As if the inability to sit upright for more than 10 minutes didn't count. She lost her job, her independence, her sense of self. The planner got shelved. The ambition faded into survival. She moved back in with her parents, a return she never planned. They wrapped her in softness, pillows, soup, silence, and love. Her mom read to her when she couldn't focus. Her dad rearranged furniture to bring the outside world closer. Her little brother stopped inviting her to events, not out of rejection, but out of compassion too heavy for words. The guest room became her new world: 4 walls, 1 bed, a shelf of books she couldn't hold, and a laptop that stared at her like a ghost of the life she used to have. She stopped texting friends back, missed birthdays, missed herself. She grieved in private, grieved the girl who could dance until 2 a.m., who could brainstorm for hours on whiteboards, who never doubted her future. Now, she was lucky if she could sit up for 20 minutes. Even watching TV required too much focus. She stopped imagining the future, started counting good hours instead. 1 hour without pain, 1 hour without nausea, but deep in that stillness, something refused to die, a whisper, a flicker, a single stubborn idea. Maybe I'm not done yet. And one night, after a day spent in silence and a sleep she didn't earn, she picked up her phone, opened an old design app. Her hand shook, her eyes watered, her neck screamed. But she traced one word in calligraphy. Still. It was messy, off center, awkward, but it came from somewhere real. That one word, still, was more than an aesthetic choice. It was a vow. Still alive, still worthy, still here. She didn't know it then, but that single act would become the seed of everything she would grow next. A future not based on recovery, but on reinvention. The turning point didn't arrive with fanfare. No miracle cure, no motivational montage. It came on a Tuesday, the kind of Tuesday that looked just like the last 100. Gray light behind the curtains, a pain scale stuck at 7, the tray by her bedside, oatmeal, a glass of water, and an old iPad. More paperweight than tool. Her dad placed it there out of habit, out of hope. He never said it aloud, but Lila could feel it in the way he gently adjusted the cord. A father's quiet way of saying, if you ever want the world again, it's waiting. That day, he forgot to lock the screen, and that's when she saw it. A single unread email from her old college professor. Subject line, hope you're okay. Thought of you when I saw this. Attached was a job listing, remote, freelance, logo design for a new startup, founded by disabled entrepreneurs. Lila stared at the screen, not because the listing excited her, but because it stirred something she hadn't felt in months. Possibility. Then doubt crept in. What business did she have applying for anything? She could barely sit upright. She hadn't touched her design software in over a year, but something about it was different. No required hours, no camera on Zooms, no expectation to pretend. She tapped reply, not because she believed she was ready, but because she was tired of waiting to feel ready. She typed slowly, paused to rest her wrists, wrote one paragraph, a short introduction, 2 old student projects attached, no pitch, no promises. Then she hit send and cried. Not from fear, not even from hope, but from the weight of trying after so long of doing nothing but surviving. She fell asleep right after, slept for nearly 6 hours straight, a rare and precious win. The next morning, a reply. We love your style. Are you available for a trial piece? Her heart skipped, then her hands trembled, not from adrenaline, but from the tremor her illness gifted her. Still, she said yes. She worked on it from bed, elbows propped on a pillow tower, screen brightness turned down to soothe her eyes, noise-canceling headphones to muffle the ever-present tinnitus. It took her 4 days. She missed one deadline, had to stop midway to recover from a flare, but she delivered, and when she got the response, "This is perfect," she stared at those 3 words like they were holy. It wasn't just $300. It wasn't just a trial project. It was a return to her identity, her voice, her value. But it also opened a door she hadn't considered. What if her limitations could shape not just her life, but the way others worked too? We'll come back to that. That tiny project didn't fix her body, didn't erase her debt, didn't silence the pain. But it lit a single lantern in a room that had felt dark for far too long. And from that light, she built a rule, 1 project per month. No meetings, no overpromising, just quiet, meaningful work on her terms. She built a simple website, designed while lying down, no glossy headshots, no stock images of coffee cups and power poses, just 3 words. 1 mission, radical transparency. She didn't expect visitors, but then It started spreading. Someone shared it on a message board for accessible freelance services. Then a friend of a friend posted it on LinkedIn. Then a disability advocate retweeted it. And suddenly the messages began trickling in. Do you design social media graphics? Can you help with our nonprofit's rebrand? I'm a disabled founder too. Your site made me cry. What began as a lifeline became a lighthouse. Lila wasn't trying to start a movement. She just wanted to survive with dignity. But in trying to survive, she accidentally started to lead. And what she built next would not just change her life, it would rewrite the rules of work for people who'd been forgotten. What began as one quiet project grew into something no one, least of all Lila, had planned. Not a business with boardrooms and backers, but a movement with boundaries, honesty, and unexpected reach. Her designs made in bed, drawn with a stylus propped between trembling fingers, began to appear everywhere. On the homepage of a trauma-informed therapy collective in Portland, on the packaging of a menstrual care startup in Mumbai, on the cover of a book titled Rest is Resistance, all from a guest room lit by soft daylight in a house where healing was messy and unfinished. Clients didn't find her through SEO, they found her through whispers, through posts passed quietly from one exhausted entrepreneur to another. This is the designer who gets it. She won't judge your delay, she builds around it. She's slow, but she sees you. And in a world full of fast talkers and faster deliverables, that made her unforgettable. She didn't promise speed, she promised depth. She didn't promise polish, she promised presence. And her site said it plainly. I work from bed. I take longer, but I listen deeply, and I make things that matter. What started as a disclaimer became her advantage. Her honesty wasn't a liability, it was magnetic. Soon, she wasn't just fulfilling orders. She was answering questions she hadn't expected. Can you teach me how to do what you do? Do you have templates I could adapt? Could you mentor someone like me? She had no program, no curriculum, no funnel, but she started saying yes. She created downloadable resources, Canva kits for low-energy creatives, audio-only tutorials on ethical branding, a short, raw guide titled Workin' While Worn Out. She put them online for free. No email capture, no upsells, just help. And then one blog post changed everything. A disability advocate wrote, "The best advice I got in 2024 didn't come from a TED Talk. It came from a girl working in pajamas, showing me I didn't have to choose between rest and relevance." That post went viral, and within days, a national journalist reached out. They'd seen the guide, heard about her studio, wanted to interview the CEO who never leaves her bed. Lila hesitated. Would they turn her into a token, a headline in a feel-good scroll? But her community reminded her, "You're not the exception, you're the evidence." So she said yes, only on one condition: tell the truth. No sugarcoating, no inspiration fluff. The piece ran 2 weeks later, titled Redefining Productivity, the CEO in Pajamas. And overnight, everything changed. Her inbox flooded, from teens with autoimmune disease, from mothers navigating invisible illness, from veterans, caregivers, stroke survivors, survivors of burnout. They didn't just want services, they wanted belonging. You made me feel seen. I cried reading your website. I thought I was lazy. Turns out I'm just tired of pretending. She couldn't reply to them all, but she read every word, and somewhere in that flood of voices, a new understanding began to form. This wasn't about her business anymore. This was about building a bridge. So she began hiring. but not in the traditional way. No resumes, no culture fit interviews, just a single question. What kind of rhythm helps you thrive? She built a team of artists, developers, and writers, all of them disabled, neurodivergent, caregiving, or recovering. All of them brilliant. All of them told at one point that they couldn't keep up. In Lila's studio, that wasn't a flaw, it was a feature. They worked asynchronously. Deadlines came with buffer zones. Meetings were rare, optional, and never longer than 30 minutes. Lila shared the systems she had invented out of survival, and voice memos instead of presentations, project boards that allowed for energy swings, templates that worked at 2 a.m. or noon whenever clarity struck. And slowly she realized something stunning. She hadn't just built a business from bed, she'd built a culture of care. But even then, something deeper was brewing, a challenge that would test all her systems, all her growth. And the surprising way she handled it would reveal the true power of what she'd created. For all the articles, applause, and accolades, there were still days when Lila couldn't lift her arms, still nights when her joints screamed louder than her thoughts, still mornings when the light through the curtains felt like an accusation. You should be doing more. From the outside, she was a success story, a symbol, a movement, a founder. But behind every polished project was a mess of real life. Deadlines missed because of flares. Ice packs rotated every 2 hours. To-do lists rewritten again and again just to feel possible. She tried to hold it all together until holding it all became another source of pain. And so she started to let go, not of her dream, but of the illusion that she had to carry it all alone. She empowered her team to lead. She let go of micromanagement and leaned into mutual trust. Meetings were replaced with message boards. Deadlines became ranges. She recorded audio notes at 2 a.m., if that's when her mind was clear. And someone else would turn those whispers into strategy. There were relapses that took her out for days, sometimes weeks. One winter, she lost the ability to speak above a whisper for a full month. But the business didn't collapse because she had built it like a community garden, not a single towering tree. And her transparency never weakened her brand, it amplified it. She posted openly about the hard days. I missed a call today. My body had other plans. This week's newsletter is late. I needed to rest first. She didn't spin it. She didn't mask it in grind culture. And something amazing happened. The world didn't flinch. Instead, her audience leaned in. Clients replied with, "Take the time you need. Thank you for modeling what sustainable work looks like." Fellow creatives wrote, "You've given me permission to slow down. I stopped hiding my illness because of you." Even people without chronic conditions said, "I didn't realize how much I was punishing myself until I saw how you led with softness." Her struggle wasn't a side note, it was the foundation of her strength. She learned that resilience wasn't about pushing through the pain. It was about working with it, not against it. It wasn't heroic, it was honest. And that honesty rippled outward into boardrooms, into classrooms, into homes, where others were lying down, wondering if they were too broken to begin again. Lila showed them, you don't have to be at full strength to create lasting impact. You just have to keep showing up with what you have from where you are. But the most powerful lesson was still ahead, one she didn't expect, one that wouldn't come from success but from silence. Lila never set out to be a symbol. She never asked to represent anything bigger than herself. She only wanted to matter again, to contribute, to wake up and know that even if her body had changed, her purpose hadn't disappeared. She used to define her value by her pace, her productivity, her performance. But the truth is, what she discovered in stillness might be the very lesson we've all been avoiding. We'll come back to that. I used to think my value came from how much I could do, she often says. Now I know it comes from how true I can be. In a world addicted to acceleration, she became a quiet example of something almost forgotten: depth over speed. Where others burned out chasing more, Lila slowed down to make it mean something. She didn't fight her illness to defeat it. She worked with it, listened to it, and built a rhythm where even her worst days had room to breathe. And here's the twist most people miss. The very limits she once resented became the filter that revealed what really mattered. We'll explore that in a moment. She began to see her condition not just as an obstacle, but as a lens, one that brought other things into sharper focus: empathy, adaptability, intention, care. She often described her journey like this: I thought I was buried, but I was actually being planted. Now, years later, with a team flourishing, a global community listening, and hundreds rethinking what work can look like, her quiet revolution continues to grow. But even now, there's a deeper truth she rarely shares. A lesson not just about strength, but about what we mistake for weakness. Her story isn't just a comeback. It's not even just a business success. It's a roadmap for reclaiming dignity in a culture that often ties worth to wellness. And we'll talk about what that means for you in just a moment. Because as her story echoes far beyond her bedroom walls, one question still hangs in the air. What might you build if you stopped waiting to feel whole and started moving from where you are, just as you are? So maybe the question isn't what you can do when you're strong, but what kind of impact you can make, even when you're not. If Lila's story moved you, if it made you rethink what it means to be strong, to lead, to rise, then don't let this video be the end of it. Leave a comment. What's one thing you thought you needed to fix about yourself that might actually be part of your strength? Share this story with someone who's lying in their own bedroom valley, wondering if their dreams have an expiration date. Subscribe to Able in Every Way, where we tell stories that defy assumptions, break ceilings, and show what's possible when the world says you're done, but your spirit says not yet. And remember, you don't need a corner office to be a leader. You don't need full health to make an impact. You don't need anyone's permission to begin. All you need is the courage to start where you are. Because sometimes the greatest revolutions happen under a blanket with a laptop and a fire no one else can see, until you show them